Okay, before we start the show, there is a reason that you have not yet heard our opening sounder, because inside the confines of the Neverland Podcast, I only like to talk about things that are very positive. Even if we don't like something, we try to find a positive way to do it. But there has been some stuff here this week that has come out that really has not been any nice way of saying things. It just hasn't really been that great. And Eric brought up a topic that I figured we did have to discuss, and so I want to play that clip that we recorded earlier, and I'm going to put it here instead of where he brought it up in the midst of the show. But here lately, in regards to Lucasfilm, the solo film in The Last Jedi, clearly there has been some fan backlash. Some fans have not enjoyed it. They didn't get actually what they expected out of what Luke Skywalker was become. There also has been concerns that some of Kathleen Kennedy's personal opinions and agendas have seeped into the Star Wars films where they do not belong. And anyone who has been critical of something in the Star Wars films has been attacked by some of the creators of any Star Wars books and things like that. So they're feeling attacked because I've even Rebel Force Radio pointed out that this Chuck Wendig, who's written some Star Wars books and some of the comics, referred to Star Wars fans as, well, a word that I will not use on Twitter, which started a big mess on Twitter. But, things have really been escalating on both sides. And when we can't have a fair discussion of opinion without somebody labeling somebody or isting somebody, as Rebel Force Radio was putting it, when, like misogynist or racist or whatever, any ist or whatever name calling you're using, that is not productive. We are all Star Wars fans, and sometimes there's something that comes out in Star Wars that maybe not everybody enjoys. But why don't we actually just talk about, well, I didn't like this because of this, and why don't we just let that be like that, and maybe talk about it, and because we enjoy talking about Star Wars, and let's leave the name calling and bullying stuff at home. Okay? And that goes for both sides. I don't care what side of this you are on, whether you've enjoyed everything recently or you haven't. Let's just be fans and friends together. This is the same problem I have with our political system right now. We can't seem to just talk about things because everybody's going to bully each other. It's on both sides, and I for one, am very tired of it. But we had a nice little discussion. Now, I don't know why, Kelly Marie Tran, we also know that she did delete a lot of Instagram posts. Now, from what I've heard, we didn't actually hear from her or her publicist, but there was some media spin, and if you don't believe there's a media spin on everything, then you need to maybe do a little research. I don't trust most media. I will go and check in various areas on a lot of stories because I find a lot of times the media doesn't give you the entire story of things. They give you a little bit, and they have actually spun it to give you the information that they want you to have to shape your opinion. Even research can be done this way, and this is something I have studied at university, and we've talked about that. Even though we do all this research, the way we feed the research can actually sway opinion. We can choose how that research is used, and the media is notorious for that, with giving you half fact if there's an opinion that they want you to have. And it was another thing, if you don't believe that happens, I think you need to do a little bit more research. And as we even discussed in one of my other classes, if you're going to just only a few places to learn your information, you're not going to enough places in order to get the full story of things. So we know that they were deleted, and there seems to be some sort of bullying thing that went on. We don't know the entire facts. We don't have any evidence left on there because it's all been deleted. All I'm saying, though, if you're out bullying on whatever cause that you're name calling or saying that somehow, well, you're just an evil this because of somebody disagreeing with you without bothering to understand maybe why is it they disagree with that? Why did they like the film, or why did they not like the film, or why do they think this way? Then you are part of the problem. But now, without any further me lecturing or getting on my soapbox, let me just go for you and play the clip for you. And then we're going to turn the corner. We'll start the regular podcast, and we'll start having our regular fun that we come to expect here. But like I said, I wanted to keep this separate from the regular podcast because our podcast is about having a good time. And this isn't fun when we have Star Wars fans biting at each other. It's supposed to be about enjoying the films, books, the toys. And if you don't enjoy a certain thing, that's okay. You don't have to go and buy that. You don't have to pursue that. But we're supposed to just enjoy, even if you haven't enjoyed any of the other films, you've enjoyed the primary films, I'm sure. There's always something in Star Wars that we've enjoyed, and I think we really need to focus on the fact that overall, we enjoy Star Wars, and we're very excited to have a Star Wars Galaxy's Edge land coming to a Disney park. So let's focus on what we enjoy. How about that? All right, well, here's the clip.
And on that note, and I know that we don't have this, and you can go ahead and delete this if you want to, but I just got to say, this whole junk going around with causing Kelly Marie Tran to delete her Instagram account, that's got to stop.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I did see some videos where people asking, it's like the odd thing about this is it feels like a publicity stunt, but yet if people are doing stuff like that, and I can imagine people, not being a fan of a film, because back in the old days, people would send you letters, that you'd get it in your mail and say, "Oh, I really don't like that," and you'd get letters. Now it's a lot more public, and it's all more social media, and now people don't have a thick skin anymore to where they can, they can just like whatever critic, Now, so I don't know how bad it was, and somebody on another video I was watching, it's like we would like to see the evidence, but unfortunately it's all deleted. But it was like, what happened? Because I'm sure it's a small group of people who are just being jerks. Because apparently this happened to Daisy Ridley as well. Yes, it did, and there is a Facebook page out there which is actively and enthused, motivated, and are claiming, we were the ones that did this. We're the ones that pushed her away. And, using some of the most vile terms, some of the least persuasive arguments or least persuasive tactics to try and get someone over to your side. Just absolutely horrible stuff that's being mentioned and commented over there. There's no place for it. Yeah, I don't get it.
Especially in Star Wars. Yeah.
I mean, it's okay. You didn't like that movie. Fine. But, don't go and take it out on an actress.
Exactly.
So that's the thing. When I saw this, and I didn't want to share it, and I don't know if we'll keep this in the show or not. It's a good conversation, but it was such a negative thing. Like, I don't really want to focus on that because I don't want to give any more publicity to these jerks.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you know what? Let's focus on what we love.
Yeah. And I'm going to edit this around, and we'll keep that in there. So it's like, yeah, we know this happened, but I don't want to give publicity to these jerks. That's a good way. We'll just stick that in there because when I saw that, I was like, what? I mean, what are people doing? I mean, it's not cool, but I mean, granted, if you're a critic of something, you might write a letter to an actress like, I really didn't like you in that. And then, I think people used to have a thicker skin, like, what? That person didn't like it, but these people did. But what links are they going to now in social media? And I would like to see what all went down with this. And I don't know if she flat out deleted her account, but she started deleting some posts. So
yeah, I believe she deleted everything. Her account is still active, but she's taken everything down.
Yeah, and I don't understand, because I know there's a lot of mad fanboys, but dang.
Yeah, well, it's like Ethan Van Sciver, the Green Lanterns artist. He's been going up and buying every Rose Tico action figure he can find, and finding some way to destroy it.
Oh, what the heck!
And, that's almost every video since he saw The Last Jedi that he's been doing on Facebook. It's supposed to be about his art and what he's doing, but he's now focused on, showing how he's destroying all of these action figures.
The funny thing is, if he bought it, they still made money. So I'm like, yeah, exactly. Burn him if you want to, but you still gave money. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're listening to a Weeby Geeks Network podcast.
Another world. Another time. In the age of wonder.
There was once a dream. You could only whisper it. Anything more than a whisper, and it would vanish.
A battle between good and evil.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
Where shall I find a new adversary so close to my own level?
Try the local sewer.
You know of the rebellion against the Empire?
The Avengers, Earth's mightiest heroes.
Peace means having a bigger stick than the other guy.
One of these days, I'm gonna have a stick of my own.
I'm Groot.
Welcome to the Neverland Podcast. The podcast for lovers of Disney, Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
Please welcome your host, Jeremy.
I thought he'd be taller.
Yeah, I can fly.
All it takes is faith and trust.
Well, if it isn't the Star-Spangled Man with a plan, what is your plan today?
Up to Neverland!
Take your pixie out of your pockets, Neverlanders. Sprinkle some of that pixie dust around. Grab or think of whichever it takes for you to get your happiest thought, and then we can fly away to Neverland. But, you know, it's kind of hard to find your way if you don't know where exactly that second star to the right is, because you have to find the first star to find the second star. But lucky for you, I'm here. I, of course, am your host, the Spider-Pan of Neverland, Head Lost Boy Jeremy. Hello! And, of course, because I sometimes can get lost, we're bringing along Lost Boy Eric again. Hello!
Hello, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
Well, U2 is somewhere having a very expensive concert. I'm sure they can help with that.
Oh, okay. Well, as long as I can count on U2.
That sounds like that should be another song title too. I don't know. It sounds like it's a Disney song somewhere, but I don't know. I can't think of it. Okay, well, but moving along, we are going to have the second part of our Stories series, which I'm going to try to do something all month long. But I might only get 4 of 5 weeks, because June is actually going 5 weeks this year. Holy cow.
How dare it?
How dare it? Exactly. So I have to come up with what might fit in the 5th show. We are working some plans to continue the conversation with some other special people. But this week, of course, you're going to hear Eric O'Keefe from the What If World podcast come along, and we're going to continue where we left off, because, heck, I've already pre-recorded it. So time travel, folks. But we have a lot of stuff that happened this week, and so first half of this show, my goodness, so this was the week of trailers. So, but we got to get diving right into all the things there is to talk about. But I gotta mention, I have an appearance on Wookiee Radio, and it should actually release about the same time that this episode is released. WookieeRadio.net is actually one of the shows by Michael Emke, who is our head of network for the Weeby Geeks Network. He also, of course, has the Weeby Geeks and some sort of a Marvel show. I always forget it's like Marvel Geeks or something. I don't know. Mighty Marvel Geeks. Something like that. He's got a bunch of shows. If you go to the Weeby Geeks website, which I can't remember if it's a .net or .com, but just look it up, you can find all of these shows. I think you can even subscribe to a main feed to listen to every show on the Weeby Geeks Network, including the Neverland Podcast. So it's all there, but Wookiee Radio, I did a panel or roundtable discussion about Solo on, is it a failure, is it not, why has it failed, why hasn't it, you know, that kind of thing. We recorded it late last night, so everybody is kind of loopy, but there was a good discussion. And I actually will probably be popping up a few more times. I'm not sure exactly when, because Mike wants to start doing a regular roundtable, and he's calling it like the Smuggler's Den or something. It's something from the original expanded universe, which I haven't read all those books. But then when there's a Star Wars topic that he wants to panel, I'm going to be summoned along with some other people, and that included Dale Wentland from Network 1901, and he's been on the show. We had a nice discussion about The Last Jedi. He is a big Star Wars fan. So we had fun with him. There was another guy named John, who I guess he's a regular, and he's actually an artist with Marvel and does covers for some of these Star Wars books. He's actually working on Star Wars Annual. I think he said it was number 4 right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, dude. So I'm trying to figure out where I've put all of my Star Wars comics so I can see if I've got anything that he's done, so I can be like, dude. So, yeah, that was kind of cool.
Okay, well, I do have a question about that, though.
Uh-oh.
Since it's Wookiee Radio, do we need to know Wookiees?
Probably, because the theme song, this is so funny, the theme song, Chewie sings it. It's really, really funny. I was trying not to laugh because I think my microphone was live at the time. So, but I'm holding it in. But because I never actually have listened to Wookiee Radio before, but now I've been in an episode.
Aha!
So there's definitely some fun in there, and Chewie does make some appearances here and there and stuff. It's fun. So.
Oh, good.
So you got that to look forward to, and of course, continuing talk about story. But we've got some news we better get into, so I guess we better get into it.
Spanning the Disney and geek universe to bring you the best in comics, toys, movies, and entertainment. This is news from around Neverland.
Okay, well, let's get the bad news out of the way first. Although some of you probably think this is good news because the world seems to be pretty mixed. But I guess Disneyland has already reopened the new Pirates of the Caribbean with Red. And Red is even walking around the park and doing some meet and greets. They're trying to make that character popular in her new version, which some people are probably going to be like, yay, and other people are going to be like, I liked it when pirates were pirates. So... But apparently Davy Jones is also gone, and you've got some of the original audio of Dead Man Tells No Tales, and some of the stuff that I have. Like, I've got a CD from the attraction that Philip picked up for me last time they were at Walt Disney World because I wanted a good Pirates of the Caribbean CD, and he found like an old release thing that was really cool. It has like the original audio from Disneyland. It's really neat.
Yep, so we lost a little bit of Paul Frees from the auction scene, but we've now gained back some Paul Frees.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to make us feel better for cutting the auctioneer's Paul Frees out. It's like, well, we'll put Paul Frees back in somewhere else. Yeah, that'll make it better. Sure it will.
Yeah, it helps. It helps.
And I heard something about they put another X marking the spot somewhere. I don't know what that's about, though.
I don't know that either, but I do know that they've put in another skeleton with an animatronic octopus. So, you know, almost two different worlds we live in. Only Country Bears reference fans would get that reference. Anyhow,
well, okay.
But yeah, they've got a new octopus in there as well. So I'm trying to keep it, spoiler free for me as much as possible, so that when I see that, it surprises me. But another little addition and change that they've brought into Pirates as well.
Yeah, and there's something that actually happened a couple of weeks ago, and we're just starting to see ramifications. I think you might have a better understanding about all of this than I do, but the annual passes, there was an article on the OC Register that I can't read because I'm not a subscriber, but there's some restrictions, and I know Paul Berry was talking about some of this, where even there's more blackout dates, I guess, for certain levels of annual pass holders to Disneyland, and they're even restricting the parking, apparently.
Yeah, for quite some time now. Of course, the different tier levels grant you a different level of access to the parks. You know, if you've got the Premier Passport, of course, that means you're able to get into Disneyland and Disney World 365 days a year, free parking, discounts, etc. As we start going lower on the tiers to the Signature Plus and the Signature, those allow you, to get into Disneyland a certain number of days a year. The Signature Plus is a 365-day-a-year one, whereas the Signature, which was the pass that my family had, is blocked out for the week before and after Christmas. We then move on to lower tiers such as the Deluxe, the Southern California, and the Southern California Select. And as you keep going down with the tiers of these, there are more and more restrictions on blackout dates and when you can use these. With the last increase that went into effect with annual passes, Disney had indicated that there were going to be some more changes coming further on down the road. And this week we learned what those changes are going to be. For these lower tiers, the Deluxe, the Southern California, and the Southern California Select, there are going to be certain days where one park is blocked out, meaning you won't be able to go into Disneyland, but you will be able to use your pass to go to California Adventure. Up until now, ever since California Adventure opened, you're able to use your annual pass, regardless of the level, as a park hopper and go between either park. There was a time when it opened that they were going to limit and restrict you to one park per day, but that changed when DCA turned out to be not quite as successful as they had initially projected. So they're getting back to that plan that they had previously, where they were going to limit the amount of times that you could go into Disneyland or into California Adventure. It seems like the emphasis right now is on Disneyland, especially as they prepare for the opening of Black Spire and Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, and I think DCA is going to become a lot more attractive to people when Marvel starts moving in over there. That should increase the demand, so they may have to rework it again. But apparently this is all a plan to try to get to where there's not, because Disneyland, I guess, is just overcrowded for the amount of space they have, and they want to make sure everybody comes in there and gets a chance to actually enjoy themselves at Disneyland, and they have a problem of people who just come and just hang out on Main Street or whatever. Which, heck, if I lived in the area and I'm like, I got nothing to do tonight, I've got an annual pass, I'm going to Disneyland, I'm not going to just hang out on Main Street, I'm going to go do stuff, I'm going to go have a good time. So, I mean, I understand just enjoying the atmosphere of the place, sure, but I want to go ride something.
Mm-hmm. So, well, and definitely, and that's a big part of the attraction for people to get an annual passport, is the ability just to say, you know what, let's go to Disneyland today. And I'll admit, it's something that was pretty, was a big factor in the reason why my family and I in the past have had annual passes. One little thing that seems to fly in the face of this news, though, is that Pixar Fest is going on right now with both Disneyland and California Adventure. And coming up very soon is going to be the opening of Pixar Pier in California Adventure.
Yeah.
Well, despite this change in blackouts, Disneyland is actually lifting blackouts for those lower tiers so that they can come in and experience Pixar Fest and Pixar Pier here throughout the remainder of June.
Yeah, and I've heard some audio already. They got like a special fireworks show with Pixar celebrating all the films, really. I mean, it sounds like it's a lot of fun. There's special parades and everything. If I was over in the area, I definitely would check it out because I do love me some Pixar.
Oh, yes.
And I am still hoping to hear that I'm going to have won that trip. What was it? June 30th is the opening day in Walt Disney World for Toy Story Land. And there was that little sweepstakes that they were running off the Disney Parks blog. And I tried to enter as much as I could. So I'm hoping to hear that I've won that trip. But I think they probably would have contacted me by now if I won. So
well, I'm hoping for it, too.
It's like, I want to go! Free passes, yeah!
And I know we've talked a little bit about my trip to Walt Disney World. I've just got to say, I am completely addicted to all things Disney World now. So, if there's any cast members out there who, wouldn't mind letting a family use their passes, hey, let me know.
Or anybody who works for an airline that will pretend that I am their brother and our immediate family that will just get me onto a flight. I don't know if anybody
TSA
can fly
might
for
have
free.
an issue with that.
Yeah, well, we're twins, can't you tell?
But there's a lot of Pixar goodness coming to all of the parks this year, and with Pixar Pier opening up and with Toy Story Land opening, there's a lot going on both coasts for everyone who really wants to get in and see what's going on.
Yeah, and when I graduate in December, life's going to change a little bit. I'm going to get to them parks. And in fact, my wife is currently out of town for one of two trips she's got to do. So Pixie Heather has been gone a week. She's going to be gone this coming week. She's still in Oklahoma with the training. When she comes back, she's got to get ready for this HOSA thing for it's a national competition that she's got some kids that qualified for. So she's got to go off to Dallas. But next year, there's talks that the national HOSA competition is going to take place in Orlando. So she'll get to spend a week down there. And I'm like, okay, if you're going to Orlando, I'm coming with. And you go to your little competition, I'm going to the parks. So I'm going to see if I can make it happen.
Well, there you go.
I have a plan. Of course, I might be the new guy at some sort of radio station, and they'll be like, well, you want vacation time already? To which I will be like, you know what? We make this a thing. Because I one time, a long time ago, heard a radio, and it was a syndicated show, though, but I heard on the radio a guy who had, they did a thing partnering with, I believe it's Give Kids the World, probably that they partnered with, but they were down there on the resort property, and they were having breakfast and talking to all the kids and their families that were getting a chance to come to Walt Disney World through Give Kids the World, and it was a good promotion for Disney. It was good for the radio station. You got to make sure you emphasize that to your boss. And it's also good for Give Kids the World. It's a great charity. So I'm thinking, if it came down to where, like, okay, I want to go to Walt Disney World with my wife when she goes down. It's going to be pricey for me to go down and want to hit the park every day. Oh, and I have this new job. I can broadcast live. Let's go do a remote at Walt Disney World. That kind of thing.
There we go.
So I have a plan. Especially if I can get like somewhere on morning, even if I'm like small market somewhere morning, that would be good. So I'm going to make this work.
Oh yeah, regardless of whatever type of cloak and dagger tactics we need to make it happen.
Yes, and speaking of which, guess what happened Thursday?
I think there was a premiere on TV.
Yes, and I just actually watched it off my DVR this morning. 2-hour premiere of Marvel's Cloak and Dagger, and I did not see Kevin Feige's name as a producer credit anywhere on this. And there was no... Normally, they, like, on the Netflix shows... and Daredevil, they even referenced the New York incident. They make sure to say, oh, by the way, we are connected to the films. This did not seem to indicate anything of being connected at all to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that's fine with me that it's not connected, because I didn't expect to be impressed with it, and I wasn't. This, I mean, if you're familiar with Freeform, the only time I watch it is, they'll show some movies on the weekends, and you get these ads for really a whole lot of shows that I could care less about. Freeform has definitely a style. I mean, and it's no longer, there's a good reason why it's Freeform and no longer ABC Family. There was quite a bit of language, actually, in this Cloak and Dagger thing that I didn't think within its time slot they'd be allowed to drop certain words. I was like, okay, Legion, I haven't watched the second season, but Legion, it's a late night. I kind of expect I'm going to get some stuff if I watch it. And the first season was very entertaining, but I cannot recommend it on a Neverland level because nowhere near family friendly, because it's very disturbing in a lot of ways. This one, I would have to give it also the big Neverland kick of as far as like a television, not really what I'd call family friendly TV, and boring as heck unless you want a teen drama show. And so your teenage daughter may want to watch this, but it's up to you whether you think that the language is appropriate for the target audience. That's up to you, parents. But yeah, I don't think it's really aimed at Marvel fans. It's aimed at people who are into the style of show that Freeform has.
Right.
So I personally, I did not enjoy it. I don't know if I'm going to continue to watch, because right now, I mean, I like Tyrone, who's going to be known as Cloak, I guess, at some point. I liked his character. He was interesting. But boy, they made Tandy kind of just unlikable. She's just a crook. And I'm like, I guess there's going to have to be a turnaround, because at some point we need to be able to think of these two as heroes. But right now they're just dealing with all their teen drama. And did you watch it?
I didn't, but from the description you're giving it's reminding me a lot about Runaways that I've seen on Hulu.
Yeah, I haven't watched that one because I wasn't sure if I would like it.
And I've only seen just the first episode of that, and I had a really hard time getting into it. I love the source material, for both Runaways and Cloak and Dagger. I love the comics. There's some pretty, fantastic stuff going on in each of those titles. It's kind of hard to see, with these last several series that Marvel has tried to get off the ground on TV, this, Inhumans, and just really having a difficult time, trying to find its tone and voice, or even in some cases just starting off on completely the wrong foot.
Yeah. And I'm still kind of wondering, I see some bit of attempt of faithfulness to some of the source material, because they did have the initial where there's a childhood tragedy where they kind of have met. And also they did keep where, I think in the comics when I was reading up, or when I was trying to check up, it's Tyrone's friend Billy when they're kids that gets killed. But they made it his brother, Billy. But in the comics, Tyrone's supposed to have had a stutter as a child and wasn't able to say, no, don't shoot, he didn't do it. He just stands there and watches.
Right.
They're bringing in Roxxon, though, making that, I think that's going to be an important factor. There's been a lot of mentions of Roxxon, but they haven't really explained how they got their powers as children with this accident. This weird light kind of went over them when this Roxxon oil tanker goes. In the comics, there was some sort of weird experimental drug that they experimented on these two. And it might have been Roxxon that did it. I'm not entirely certain. So, I mean, they're at least keeping some source material, but they've kind of changed it where Tandy is supposed to come grown up with privilege. Well, they had this where she was, privileged till she was like 5 years old, and then she's now got a drunken mother living on the street. And Tyrone, suddenly his life turned around, and he's got a bit more privileged life. His mother works in politics and stuff like that, and he's going to a good Catholic school. But he's got a stronger moral compass than Tandy does, that's for sure.
But so it sounds like a little bit of role reversal.
Yeah, they're switching some of the character style up, and I've only got, admittedly, I've only got like the Maximum Carnage series that I know of that has Cloak and Dagger in it. But the light daggers don't do knife blade damage as far as I remember. And in this, they have, she's nearly killed somebody that was in a very rough to watch attempted rape scene. So parents, be cautioned if you have a teenage child, you want to, see if this would be a show for them. That's more than I would. I think if I had a teenager, I don't think I'd want them to see something like that. I mean, it was pretty intense, and there is even some car sex going on. I'm like, okay, yeah. See, they're seeming to be aiming for the style of story is aimed at a teenager, but it's very adult in the way they're presenting it. So I don't think they know who they're making this show for. Because like I said, if I had kids, I wouldn't let them watch this show. But it doesn't have anything that appeals to me as an adult either. So, yeah. So hopefully, maybe there's something better, because Peter Pan has recently had, because I guess what I've got is the Diamond Edition. What are they calling this new edition of Peter Pan 5 years later?
This is the Signature Edition. The Signature, it's the Anniversary Edition in the Walt Disney Signature Collection.
So this kind of ties in with Peter Pan just had, is this the 60 year that we just celebrated?
This would be the 65th anniversary.
65th.
Peter Pan was released in 1953.
Yeah, I knew we just had a big celebration because I remember I was excited about it. But of course, I've got the 60-year anniversary Diamond Edition, which I got at Target. It had a storybook with the 2-disc set. Oh. So I didn't get a digital copy at the time. But it had and I don't know if it's a reprint from like an old storybook, but it's really kind of neat. It's got a book with it. So I was really happy, and that's why I didn't get the digital copy. So part of me kind of wondered, do I need to go and buy another Blu-ray just to get a digital copy? Would you recommend upgrading?
Yeah, I actually would. To be honest, I've got my entire Disney collection, which, up until DVDs came out, I had every VHS movie that Disney had released. And then when DVDs came out, I started collecting DVDs, and so I now have DVDs for every movie released up until Blu-rays, and then I started collecting Blu-rays. With a very few exceptions, most of my collection, ever since I started getting DVD, I've only got the DVD, and I haven't upgraded to Blu-ray. This time I did. This time I have upgraded to the Blu-ray and the digital, and I can tell you it's almost a night and day difference in quality for the production. The DVD I have is from 2002, so it is older, and your DVD, your current Blu-ray may match this one for image quality and sound quality, but it's also got some really good special features that go along with it. There's a conversation with Catherine Beaumont, who is the voice of Wendy, and also the voice of Alice a couple years earlier.
Yeah.
You've got, it's a nice transfer. It's a nice presentation. The picture is crystal clear and looks absolutely wonderful. I'm actually watching the digital version of this as we're chatting right now. Excuse me.
Yeah. Does the digital version have some of the special features attached?
Oh, yeah. Both on Vudu as well as through Movies Anywhere, I'm able to access all of the special features that are on the discs.
So you know what I might do? Because really and we were talking before we recorded, because I got, from 5 years ago, that Diamond Edition, and most of the same special features are there. So if you bought that one 5 years ago, you might be okay. You might want to go ahead and get another one if you want to. But what I would need now is a digital copy, and to get the extra special features that I'm missing, and I will have gained something for digital copy. That's all I really need. So I'm thinking I may just, have to splurge a little, get onto Movies Anywhere, and go get my digital. Which, while you're talking, if you've got anything else you want to talk about on it, I might just go take a look and see how much that digital copy would cost.
Well, I've been able to watch it through once. Again, the image quality is fantastic. I'm seeing some details that I've never noticed in the past before, especially with the shadows and the shading. I haven't spent much time yet delving within the special features. There's one, it's actually an older one, where they go through and interview children of the 9 old men, those master animators, and they talk about what life was growing up with these men in their homes, and the things that they would bring home from work and the way that work influenced their lives. Certainly you can't talk about Frank Thomas without mentioning his railroad, or Walt Kimball, the same way. You also can't talk about Frank Thomas without Ollie Johnston. So it's a really fascinating look into the impact that these men had, how it impacted their lives at home and their descendants, their children and their grandchildren. Again, that's one of the older special features that I think is probably on the Blu-ray from 5 years ago that you've got. But, it's some really fantastic and great information and background. And, it's just a great purchase. I'm glad I've got this in my collection.
And the digital copy is available. It's taken me over to Vudu from the Movies Anywhere. $14.99 or the digital.
Oh, not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. $14.99 for standard definition, high definition, $19.99. I'd almost could buy the disc for that. So.
For about $5 more.
Yeah. It almost would be worth it. And in fact, I did look, if you're part of the Disney Movie Club, they are partnering it with Return to Neverland for like $34.95. So, I mean, that's a pretty good deal. And part of me is tempted. So, I'll make a decision at some point on that. We'll see. Yeah, but definitely a good release. I guess we'll move on to some other things that we got a little bit more detail. We heard about this, months ago. I know Atari did a little tease that they were making a new console. But yes. And this week, of course, this weekend is E3. They've actually dropped a quick trailer out there to show the Atari VCS. So you're going to be able to play games, you're going to be able to stream content. It's basically a modern console. The difference is you have a library of classic Atari games from the 2600, which is pretty cool. I've actually got, they were releasing those little sets that would have have a bunch of games on it, I got the reminder that a lot of those old games were designed for 2 players, and you can't play some of these games by yourself. So they have an Indiegogo campaign that you can come and back. They've already got nearly $3 million, so there's 21 days left of this. If you go to AtariVCS.com, you can find your link to go over and check it out. And they have some different packages for like $299. So that's average cost. You can get a collector's edition, which has the VCS controller and which it's basically like a modern controller. It kind of looks a lot like the Xbox 360 controller to me. And also it's going to have a more classic style joystick. Now I've noticed that it has something about GST and VAT not included. I have not figured out what that means. I think that has something to do with international tax or something like that. But you can buy individual controllers. There is an Onyx that is, I guess it's more of a solid black. Because the design of this, they made it look like the old 2600. It's actually got a wood panel front, and then it's got those ribs kind of going up, and then it does kind of come up to the surface, although you don't have all these switches. I don't see, though, where you would insert any sort of a disc. So I'm thinking all of your games are going to be digital.
Which is very possible. I know that the industry as a whole is going that direction.
Yeah, and I'm not particularly fond of that. I like having a hard copy, although I do find myself buying digital copies sometimes when I can get them super cheap. So, but there's a lot of different varieties of different packages that you can order. There's even like for $279 you can get this Onyx Early All-In, which has the Onyx black cover, classic joystick modern controller. There's only 432 left at the time of this recording, so you can save yourself about $20 by having this black cover. Of course, you're gonna have to pay for shipping, and shipping's probably gonna be expensive. But there's some variety of different ways that you can purchase this online. I'm sure eventually this will be available in stores, but apparently they're selling quite a few of them right now. I've got 10,549 backers. So I would say that's, over 10,000 units sold already. So
and the important question is it going to come with a copy of E.T. pre-installed on it?
Well, I don't see it listed. I think they're mainly going to have stuff that Atari made themselves. So I'm seeing Adventure and Asteroids and Yar's Revenge and Missile Command and Crystal Castles, Centipede, Tempest, Gravatar, Secret Quest, Breakout, Combat, Circus Atari. Wow. It's almost worth it just to get all that. Boy, if I had the money to... Oh, look, Sword Quest, Waterworld, and Earthbound. Techno Retro Dads hopefully got the chance to see this because they were just talking about that. 3 Sword Quest games. Wow.
Well, I'm hoping that, since we're bringing back Atari, reliving the glory days of Nolan Bushnell, how soon can we start getting a resurgence of the Rock-afire explosion?
Oh, actually, it's already started. There is a Rock-afire bar that is opened here in Kansas City.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to go check it out when I can. I want to find out if it's like, because, a lot of these retro arcades, you pay $5-6 at the door and then just play all you want. If that's what they do, then I'm in. I'm going to go for it because then I can play whatever games. And although they do have, so they're covering some different songs with the Rock of Fire, and I haven't watched the new video because I wanted to wait till I'm there. But I guess they've covered something that's Notorious B.I.G. Now, I have seen previously on YouTube people that managed to buy a Rock of Fire for their own personal use would program them and just grab the audio from whatever song, and so they would actually just be singing along to like karaoke, with whatever voice of the original artist. I have heard that the let's see, what show was I listening to? They actually, I think it was Jonathan Johnson's Disney Blue Diz on Demand. He was talking to the guy who invented the Rock of Fire explosion a couple weeks back. I want to talk to him, see if I can get him on the show. But I'm wondering, because he was talking about he's been recording some new audio. So I wonder if he's been doing some newer songs and doing covers so it actually sounds like the Rock of Fire. So I want to get out to this place and check it out whenever I have time. Maybe I'll wait for... Well, Heather, I don't think didn't go to showbiz like I did, so I don't know if she'd be that interested. But I want to get some friends together and go and check it out, and then I'll record down from there. Maybe I can talk to the people who run it and talk a little bit about the thing. But it is primarily a bar, and I don't drink, but I will go and hang out and play video games any old time, and watch a Rock of Fire show. So
there you go.
There you go, resurgence.
And, I do have one other bit of news that we haven't included in our notes, and I know time is short today, but I just wanted to mention, we were just talking about games and how the VCS, maybe it's getting away from physical media. Well, one of the stores that I know you and I visit quite a bit is GameStop. Because they've got that physical media there, which is easy for us to access and purchase. Well, apparently GameStop is no longer going to be in just the video game business. I don't know if you've heard about this, but GameStop is going to start selling comic books.
Oh, they're trying to keep up with vintage stock.
Yes. So, nothing big there, but I just thought it was an interesting note considering our conversation previously.
Yeah, well, heck, they already sell some different collectibles and toys and stuff at a GameStop. And they started doing movies. So, I mean, I'm expecting some of their locations are going to have to grow in size a little bit because they really are competing with vintage stock here in my local area, at least.
I
got a vintage stock less than a mile away. So
there you go. Well, I think they're just going to be selling, current releases rather than anything vintage. So
I'm sure they'll try to track down some back issues. It'll happen. It'll happen. Give them some time. They'll start growing that collection.
But it'd be kind of incredible.
Yeah, it'd be kind of incredible because, coming next week, The Incredibles 2 hits theaters and Lego Incredibles will hit stores. And this is kind of looks neat. I usually don't buy a game when it first comes out because they'll come out at $60. Although sometimes the Lego games come out a little lower. So maybe we'll get lucky. But this is coming out next week. I've seen some trailer on it. This is basically you're going to get to play through both Incredibles movies. So you could spoil the second movie for yourself.
You could. In fact, as I was looking and researching this before our conversation today, I think I stumbled on a spoiler.
Whoops, don't say anything then.
Yeah. So, but, gameplay looks great. It's a classic Lego action that, we've seen in all of their titles. I'm a little upset because this kind of is the Disney Infinity game that I would have liked to have seen.
Yeah.
But things are what they are.
They are what they are. Yeah, but thank you, Lego, for continuing to make some Disney properties for us to go and play with in your Lego world. Just makes me happy. It's just fun. So this is definitely something's going on my list of Lego games I need to get. I got a long list of Lego games I haven't gotten yet. So I haven't finished playing through Marvel Superheroes yet either. That's fun. I keep getting distracted, and I've been trying to play the Kingdom Hearts, and I got stuck on Cerberus, and I haven't been able to play that game in weeks now. What I'm going to do, because I got stuck there, instead of streaming and letting y'all watch me get my butt kicked by a giant 3-headed dog, I'm going to continue to play it. When I beat the dog, I'll upload video of it, and then I'll continue streaming, because I can't... I got used to more modern gaming and how combat works, and this is very... in an old school style. It doesn't seem like it has the same strategy. This game has felt to me like it came from a company that's used to doing turn-based Final Fantasy games, and trying to do an actual action combat, it doesn't feel like it flows as well.
Yeah, and I would agree. The main reason I bought a PlayStation 2 was Kingdom Hearts. And at the time, Holy cow! How long ago was that now? Almost 13 years. No, probably 12 years. No,
it was a long time.
It'd be even more than that. I wasn't married, so it was that long ago. But still, at the time, I remember it flowing very nicely and very well. But as I've been replaying it on my PS3, I can't help but notice how clunky it is and how the difficult the camera makes it to move. Especially in combat. So, excuse me, I definitely feel for you.
Yeah, so it has not been an easy game, but I do want to go through and I want to play it because I'm pretty excited for the third one coming out. Looks really cool, and I'm sure the gameplay they've managed to work on their mechanics in that time. But I want to be caught up on it, and I have so many different things. But I also am getting distracted since I finished The Witcher 3, and I was only trying to play Kingdom Hearts on the weekend, so I was streaming it. I kind of got into playing Fallout 3 a little bit, so. Because I've had that sitting for a year. I had bought it and I hadn't put it in my PS3, and so I'm like, I want to check this out, and so I got playing that a little bit, and it's pretty good. And then eventually, I do want to play Dragon Age Inquisition, but I will get back to playing some Kingdom Hearts, and I'm going to beat that Cerberus. I'm going to get back on it, and I will be playing it again, and we'll be putting it up on our YouTube channel if you're hopefully following us on YouTube and checking it out.
Well, there you go. Hopefully with these other games, especially with Fallout, I hope the gameplay isn't too creepy or kooky.
Or mysterious, maybe a little spooky.
Could be.
Which and I think we heard something about a new Addams Family animated movie was coming. I feel like we've talked about this, but they have a cast list. So this is pretty neat. So we got Charlize Theron, who's going to voice Morticia Addams, and Chloe Grace Moretz as Wednesday Addams. Now, Chloe Grace Moretz, I know who that is, but I can't think of who that is. She's been in some stuff. Yeah,
she's been in a few different things. Probably the most family-friendly one that comes to mind is the remake of Dark Shadows with Johnny Depp.
Did anybody actually watch that?
Teenage daughter in that. There's I know it's a couple other movies, but I can't really say their name because
they kick a lot of butt.
Yeah,
and that wasn't she in Hit Girl or something? I didn't watch those movies. I watched a clip of it, and it was like, I don't know, I couldn't get into it. I'm sorry, guys, but I couldn't. I know there's probably fans, but I couldn't get into that with the little clips that were in the middle of the movie. I was like, this doesn't look that great. But did you see who's playing a new witchy role in Grandmama? Bette Midler. Yes. But Finn Wolfhard as Pugsley, Nick Kroll as Uncle Fester. That name sounds familiar too. Yeah. Nick Kroll's done a few things. Unfortunately, my tablet's not keeping up to speed here with us, so I can't pull up exactly. But, well, you know who Finn Wolfhard is? Nope. Stranger Things. Oh, he's one of the kids? Yes. Which kid, do you know? I believe that he is... and I can't get to my IMDb here at the moment. He's Will Byers, I believe. Yeah, okay. No, he's not the one that was in that Stephen King's It here. That was, I think, one of the kids. But yeah, I think that was one of the other kids. These kids are going to be like typecast into this type of picture here, I guess. But so the Addams Family is going to be facing off against a reality host played by Allison Janney named Margot Needler. And they're actually waiting for their extended family to arrive for some sort of celebration. Sounds similar to some of the things they did in that first live-action movie when they had the whole family get together there in that one scene, which was a lot of fun. But the script is actually being written by Pamela Petler, who wrote Corpse Bride, which that's a pretty good movie. I did like that one. What does make me wonder about the tone is some of the other people that are working on this. Now, where did it go? I lost his name, but he's worked on some stuff that's not exactly some family-friendly stuff. Now I can't find it. Well, yeah, the guy who directed Sausage Party, Conrad Vernon, is directing this. That's what makes me kind of... Oh, and Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron himself, is Gomez Addams. How perfect is that?
Mm-hmm.
I love that. But I'm a little, granted, a director, just because they did something like Sausage Party in animation doesn't mean they can't do something that you can take to your whole family to and enjoy, like the Addams Family should be. It should be everybody's going to be able to have fun and laugh at their antics. But we're looking at October 11th, 2019, so we're still more than a year away from this. But I'm interested. I think it could be fun.
Oh, yeah, and I'll tell you, the visual style immediately grabbed me because it is very close to that original Charles Addams style from his original cartoons.
Is. Oh, yes. They are very weird looking. So I think this would be fun. I wonder who's Lurch, though. They didn't say anything about Lurch.
I'll call it right now. It's Brad Garrett.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, too. Brad Garrett would be fantastic. I mean, him playing Eeyore has gotten me excited, too. He's perfect, but can you imagine Brad Garrett just go, whoa. So
yeah, just about every episode of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Exactly. But now we got an extended stay in the trailer park coming.
All right, y'all. One more time. It don't matter what you look like. It don't nobody gonna sing with me. Okay.
The Neverland Trailer Park.
All right, now this first one, we knew this was coming because when I talked to, I think one of their names was Sharky. I can't remember their names. I should have looked this up. But they did that Floyd Norman documentary, and I noticed when I watched it, there was a mention of somebody working on the How to Train Your Dragons trilogy. And so I asked them about it on the podcast, like, that said trilogy. Is there a third one coming? And they said, yes, it's coming. And we finally got a trailer for it. So let's take a quick listen to it.
There were dragons when I was a boy. Where they went, only a few know. Our story changed the world forever. We did it! The world's first dragon Viking utopia.
Your utopia, maybe. Mine's less crowded and more... sanitary.
Hey, bud, wait up! Oh my God, he's not the only one.
She's a light fury.
Oh, sorry.
Did she just disappear? Wow.
It's a hidden dragon world. Toothless, go introduce yourself.
Found my heart, broke it here, made friends and lost them through the years.
Toothless has a girlfriend.
I've hunted every Night Fury except yours. Hand him over.
I will never give him up.
Then I will destroy everything you love.
We are no longer safe here. We all have to disappear, completely off the map. We have to fight for their freedom. Come on, Mike!
You're nothing without your dragons.
Attack! Show them what you got, bud. Save him. It's you and me, bud. Always.
And holy cow, I love this. That first shot where you see like an older Hiccup and he's got a beard and stuff. It looks like they're really aiming at wrapping this up.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that not only is there a night dragon, whatever,
Night
Fury, but there's a light fury and a female one. So we finally found more. So that's exciting. Although I worry a little bit that it's a bit of a repeat of the second film because there's somebody out there hunting dragons again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, didn't we see this in the second movie? And also having a secret area we didn't know about where we're going to find other dragons that we didn't know existed. Sounds like the second movie. But
and the first even.
Yeah, kind of is, yeah. But you know what? I love these movies. So I'm going. I don't care. So like Incredibles 2, it feels like a repeat of the first one, but I'm still going to go and have a good time.
Now, personally, I'm a little concerned that Chris Sanders isn't directing this. But there...
Ooh, I said.
Yeah. And I know that there's actually been kind of a convoluted history behind the creation of this film. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what kind of final product we get with it.
Yeah. But is also talking the world of animation, because really that's where we are this week. Spider-Man is back over at Sony.
Miles, gotta go.
If you want me to drive you, we gotta go now.
No, Dad, I'll walk.
Personal chauffeur going once.
It's okay.
Seriously, Dad, walking would have been fine.
Breaking news, Spider-Man saves the day again.
Spider-Man. This guy swings in once a day, zip, zap, zop, and answers the over.
Dad,
Accountability.
Speed up. I know these kids.
Yo, Miles, man, you get arrested?
Gosh, don't cops run red lights?
Well, yeah, some do. But, not your dad.
In your universe, there's only one Spider-Man. But there is another universe. It looks and sounds like yours, but it's not. My name's Miles Morales.
Hey, kid. You're like me. How?
I knew my day would come around this time.
I know it's complicated.
Just had to cut my soul and free my mind.
You want to know what happened to you? I can teach you to be Spider-Man. I love this burger. It's so delicious. One of the best burgers I've ever had. You have money, right? I'm not very liquid right now.
I think you're gonna be a bad teacher. How am I supposed to save the whole world?
You can't think about saving the world. You have to think about saving one person. One thing I know for sure, don't do it like me. Do it like you.
Brooklyn! Won't stop us now. Hey, I'm all in, I'm all in. I ain't worried about a loss or a new friend. Never worried about a fraud or a new bitch. Lost love, I ain't worried about a process.
I see this spark in you. It's amazing. Hands up! Whatever you choose to do with it, you'll be great. I love you, Miles.
Yeah, I know, Dad.
You gotta say I love you back.
Dad, are you serious?
I want to hear it.
You want to hear me say it?
I love you, Dad.
You're dropping me off out of school?
I love you, Dad.
Look at this place.
Dad, I love you.
Dad, I love you.
That's a copy.
Time to swing, just like I taught you.
When did you teach me that?
I didn't. It's a little joke for team building.
Hey, guys.
Okay, who are you?
I'm Gwen Stacy.
Come on. How many more spider people are there?
Save us a Comic-Con.
What's Comic-Con?
Let's go!
And, okay, so now that we've heard the audio of this, I still have to say, I don't know that I like the animation style. It looks so choppy. Now, granted, this is Sony Animation, and they did sort of a choppy style with the Peanuts movie. I'm pretty sure that was them. But that seemed to work. It made the Peanuts movie feel a little bit like the old classic animation. But I don't know. It seems like this was purposeful where you have this choppy animation, but we're getting another look at this. It looked like they're trying to make the comic book kind of come to life with Miles Warren, because at one point you see him go down the street and these little yellow text boxes are kind of moving by. So I was like, well, maybe that's what they're thinking.
Wait, Miles Warren or Miles Morales?
Whoops, Miles Morales. You know, Miles Warren has not been in a film yet. Maybe they need to do that too.
Maybe they do. Maybe we do need a Jackal movie.
Everybody. Yeah, they'll start cloning people with the Jackal, and I don't know if we want that.
But, you know, personally, I love this art style. It grabbed me immediately. And, you know, I didn't go to the Peanuts movie. It made me think of the Disney short Paperman.
Oh, yeah. Except for Paperman, the animation was smooth. It looked fantastic.
I know, and I absolutely love Paperman. Yeah, I'm looking at this as kind of an evolution, or something similar to it. But it really grabbed me, and I really liked it. I like the relationship that they're setting up between Peter and Miles as kind of a mentor relationship. If for those who've read the Ultimate Comics, there was no opportunity for Peter to do that for Miles in the comic books, at least to begin with. They actually killed Peter off, and now all of a sudden we need a new Spider-Man. Oh, let's bring in someone brand new. And say that he got bit by the same spider. Different situation, but I really like this. Even the hint that we've got more than just Peter Parker and Miles Morales, we've also got
a Spider-Verse.
An entire Spider-Verse, complete with the Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of the Spider-Verse so much, though, either.
I know. I'm never going to be able to convince you that, there's some good stuff out there, even though a lot of it is from Dan Slott's mind.
Yeah.
Which, he's no longer focused on Amazing anymore.
Yeah.
But, I love the concept of the Spider-Verse. It works well with the multiverse aspect of the Marvel universe.
And I guess they look overall, if you look at a still frame of it, does look good. But that it's like television quality animation. Mm-hmm. And I would expect a little bit better. But I might go see this just because it's Spider-Man, and it couldn't be any worse than Homecoming. But I guess we're ready. But you got any more you want to add to that one, or shall we move on to our next animated feature that I'm pretty excited about?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that.
A lifetime has passed since the horrific events of Taco Tuesday. Our lives descended into chaos. This new life has toughened and hardened us all.
2 coffees, please. 1 black, 1 with just a touch of cream and 25 sugars.
Well, toughened most of us.
I wake up in the morning, wide awake.
Good morning.
For the day.
Hello, cyborgs.
Say, what a morning.
Good morning, sewer babies.
Emmett, you gotta stop pretending everything is awesome. It isn't.
Yeah, I get it. And that's why I've cultivated a totally hard-edged side that's super tough. And look, a shooting star, make a wish.
Oh no. Something new. What is it up to?
I don't know, but that beat is pretty fresh. Uh-oh.
It's like it knows our every move.
Weird, right?
Emmett!
What?
Bring me your fiercest leader.
This guy is the special.
This guy was a fierce warrior.
Okay, well, technically, I did the warrior stuff.
So you fought and master built and kicked butt, and then the hapless male was the leader.
He, well...
Lucy!
Emmett!
Hang on to your fronds, Planny. We're going to save Lucy and all of the other people who were captured.
Behold, the sister.
Whoa. No woes. Do not give her the satisfaction of woeing this. Ooh. That's even worse. Stop it!
So that was the Lego Movie 2, and I love the fact that it's called the second part. I mean, this is great because, Chris Pratt has really shown that he is a very funny and charming kind of guy, even when he's a little clueless Lego character. Mm-hmm. And so this movie, the look and feel of it is entirely different. And I think I see where they're going because you have this dark world. I'm thinking maybe the little boy that we saw in the first one has kind of grown up into his teenage angsty years. And now we have an invasion by these girl toys because his little sister, we kind of saw this, she had her baby versions in the end of the first Lego movie. So now she's a little older and suddenly we have these girl toys that are coming in and I guess freaking out the dark world of the boys toys style Legos. So I'm interested to see where they take this. This could be a heck of a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to laughing my way through this.
Well, and as much as the first movie was about a father-son relationship, this one very well could be a brother-sister relationship.
Yep, it really could. Which for any of us that grew up and we did have a sister, any of us boys and we had a sister, we can relate to this,
Mm-hmm.
I always got along pretty well with my sister though, so this should be fun. But I'm the youngest, so I was probably the annoying little brother. Well, I wasn't that annoying, I don't think. But so I didn't have an annoying little sister. I had an older big sister, and we would play together anyway. So.
Mm-hmm.
But this should be fun, getting to see, the boy and his sister, learning to play together and enjoy Lego together. So I'm excited. And then we have what hopefully is going to be a fantastic movie this November.
Hey, kid! Wake up!
Ralph, what is wrong with you?
Start churning butter and put on your church shoes, little sister, because we're about to blast off!
Ralph, what is it you're trying to say?
We're going to the internet.
What?
Work it, make it, do it. Makes us work it harder, make it harder.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the internet!
Cool. Wow. Look at all this stuff.
This is the most beautiful miracle I've ever seen.
Welcome to the search bar. What can I help you find today? Umbrella, umbrage, umami.
No.
Noah's Ark, no doubt. Nordstrom Rack. Ergonomics, Urban Outfitters, cool.
I'm pretty sure he's just trying to guess what you're gonna say.
My autofill is a touch aggressive today.
Let me try. Take me to a website that's super intense and really nuts.
Oh, I only found one result.
Oh, come on. Princesses and cartoon characters barf.
Hey.
Whoa! Cool!
You're coming with us, kid.
Hi. Whoa, ladies, I'm a princess too.
What kind of a princess are you?
Do you have magic hair?
No.
Magic hands?
No.
Do animals talk to you?
No.
Were you poisoned?
No.
Cursed?
No.
Kidnapped or enslaved?
No. Are you guys okay? Should I call the police?
Do people assume all your problems got solved because a big, strong man showed up?
Yes. What is up with that?
She is a princess.
Ralph breaks the internet.
Shouldn't it be Ralph Wrecks the Internet?
Yeah, since he is Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, but break the internet, it's like a thing.
Right, it's just Wreck the Internet kind of sounds better, doesn't it?
You're not wrong.
So, yeah, we had a teaser for Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Yes, we did.
And the teaser got me excited. Unfortunately, this didn't get me excited. This actually kind of dropped a note for me.
Oh.
Yeah, and I even on YouTube, looking on there was a lot of people that's like, uh-oh, this is starting to look like the Emoji Movie.
Yeah, which is, that's a definite downside of coming out after the Emoji Movie, whereas, a lot similar where we're dealing with properties that we already know about.
Yeah, and it really seems like one person put it in very crude terms, but it's like Disney's just showing off, look at all of our properties. This is what this trailer looked like. It's like, look, we're going to throw in Marvel and Star Wars and Disney princesses all in this movie. Yay! Yay, Disney. I'm like, don't make a yay Disney movie. I want to have more fun with Ralph because, part of what made Ralph fun was having that nostalgia and all these other game characters. And then they gave us a really heartwarming story. So this trailer, I'm sure that's going to have a good heartwarming story, and I'm sure we're going to like this movie, but I don't think this trailer really gave us anything to let us know just how excited we should be. The humor kind of fell flat in a couple places, and it's not fun seeing all the princesses all together. But I get what the joke they were trying to do with the search engine guy, but I was like, yeah, I know, I've heard this joke a bazillion times. I feel like it wasn't anything new that was going to make me laugh. I'm like, this movie feels like it's not going to be funny.
Oh, but what about the qualifications to be a princess?
Yeah, I know. That's another old joke that I was like, yeah, that would have been funny 10 years ago.
I'll tell you one thing I was very excited to see in this, though, was a large green frog.
Okay, I have to go back and look again.
You didn't see Kermit?
I didn't spot Kermit.
Kermit's in there.
Well, that's cool, but once again, Disney patting themselves on the back in their own movie.
Hey, if we can get Muppets anywhere, I'm happy.
That's true. I'm still happy to see the Muppets. So I'm sure I'm going to love this movie, but I don't think they did a good job with this trailer to show some of the fun of it. They didn't even hint at some of the story other than like, look, they were going to the internet. Like, yeah, we knew that already. But
it's a teaser. It's a teaser. They're not going to be giving us details of the story this far out. This is to help get us primed, help get us ready, and help us understand a bit more, of what it is that they're going to experience. We saw the new character, yes. So that gives us a little inkling about anything else that they're going through. And I like that they also address the fact, wouldn't Ralph Rex the internet be better?
Yeah.
Than Ralph breaks the internet.
Yeah, but that's the phrase ever since Kim Kardashian's backside popped up. Oh, she broke the internet. So, those millennials and their new phrases. But I'm still looking forward because what cracked me up is about that original teaser is watching Ralph screw up that game the little girl's playing.
Yes.
That was funny. I'm like, okay, that's the kind of things I want to see. Ralph making a mess. That's kind of what he does. He breaks stuff. He wrecks stuff. So I want to see some more funny stuff like that. So I'm expecting this movie. I'm going to love it. But I think they could have done better with this trailer because they really, on the YouTube thing, there's a lot of people like, I was excited and now this makes me think this might not be as good as what we think. But as Kermit, as you were mentioning, has mentioned, everyone knows the sequel's never quite as good. Mm-hmm. So, but we're doing a sequel anyway. So
unless it's Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, and then you've got an amazing movie to follow up the other amazing movie that will have yet a third amazing movie, and I will just be a one amazed person. So.
Or dare I say it, The Last Jedi.
Which is still a good movie.
Too soon.
I still liked that movie. I'm liking the new ones. It's not as good as the original trilogy, but that might be my own nostalgia. But yeah, I still think they're making good Star Wars movies. So, all right. I know we've already had a lot of stuff on this show, and it's going to be a long show, and I was trying not to have it go long, and now I'm going to talk a long time and make it go even longer. But Mr. Eric from What If World... Not you, but because you're Lost Boy Eric. We call him Lost Boy What If because he's from the What If World podcast, which I hope maybe you checked out this week. If you listened to last week's show, we did recommend it. So I hope you went and checked out his show and you enjoyed it. It's great fun. But I still have more of my conversation with him where we're talking about story and how story is important and Disney. And we're gonna go through the rest of that conversation. And next week, I'm working on getting together. We're gonna talk about story inside the Disney parks, the story that's told to you in every land in a Disney park and even on every attraction. It's going to be a lot of fun. We haven't recorded it yet. I'm excited to do it. So enjoy this conversation and make sure you come back next week for more.
To Disney and beyond.
I think when it's done best is when they don't say, hey, look, we got a strong female character here, because some movies feel like that. Star Wars, I love that they've done it where it doesn't seem like they've made a big deal out of it. Just like, oh, you know what? We're just going to create another female character that I think you're going to love.
Yeah.
And the films, because Rey, they just introduced her as this character, and gosh, we just loved her.
Yeah.
Now, I think sometimes at conventions, Kathleen Kennedy likes to toot their horn at that, but you just ignore that. And it's like, let me just go into the story and present these characters to me, because I don't care if it's male, female, whatever, just give me a good character, but don't say, hey, look at me, because you can sense that when they do that in some movies, and it's just like, okay, thank you for tooting that, but can you just tell me a story with this character and let me just love the character?
Yeah, and I think that's like where a big, massive, insanely huge studio like Disney with all of their various properties, they have so much power. And I like to think that at least theatrically, like they're using it more responsibly. They're trying to make it like everyone looks to them. Even people who are like, oh, but it's just Disney, like they're just kids movies. It's like, no, but they do so much now. So their influence is, whether you like them or not, and, I happen to like them. I've seen all of their movies almost, but like, you have to acknowledge their influence. And like the more they do stuff like this, like right now in just the world that we live in, sometimes you're going to have to like just force in more characters because people aren't thinking that like, oh, that could just as easily be a woman, in that role. People like we don't. So it's gonna probably feel really forced for a whole nother generation until it's just a movie can come out. It can be all men, 20 years from now, but that's fine because there'll be 3 other movies that are all women or a good mix or whatever.
Yeah, and I prefer a good mix. That's why I'm liking with the new Star Wars movies, because it hasn't felt forced.
Yeah.
It feels like they just introduced a character and they just didn't make a big deal, but I'm like, hey, great, cool, just make me love that character. Like even Rose's sister at the beginning of The Last Jedi.
Oh, so good.
Oh, you get pulled in with her because she's this desperate attempt to drop these bombs, and you're like, see, this is how you get me in, and it doesn't matter if that's a male or female, I'm in with that character.
Of course.
So I think Disney is for the most part doing it right and introducing these characters and not making it feel like it's forced. I mean, some other companies I do feel it, because it has been kind of funny because it's almost become a trend thing to like, okay, we need to have more female characters. And so we had something like amazing, like Wonder Woman. It was a fantastic movie. And here lately I've heard, oh, look, now they're going to try to adapt Red Sonja again. And like, it seems to be like, well, now you're searching for some strong female characters you can work for. So, I mean, it's great to do that. I'm going to enjoy a Red Sonja movie. I like the old one even. It's a cool character, but it's one of those things where the money is, that's where they'll go. And so a lot of the strong female characters we're getting, oh, hey, there's money in it. And so they're shoving it that way and not just coming up with stories for the sake of a good story. There's so much money tied up. So now it's like,
you're so right. You're so right. I mean, just think about what you were saying about Walt Disney. Like, back at the beginning, he was doing a similar. I mean, he wasn't just in it for the money. I have to presume. I mean, but he wanted to tell good stories. He wanted to tell stories that people would be interested in. So what did he do? Like, he found existing properties. It's just that back then he was the guy making movies. So the existing properties, the things that people were aware of were these fairy tales, were these older stories. Wizard, he famously did not get Wizard of Oz, in time to have his animated film, and that would have been an amazing thing to have existed. And there's. But now there's so much material out there, and it seems like reboots are just where like all the money is going. And it's So I mean, I love a lot of them, and some of them I'm like, why?
Yeah. Because it's like there's so many great stories still to be told out there, and I just want to see them all. But that's the thing that worries me is, A Wrinkle in Time, as they've had a hard time adapting that one. I personally really liked this new adaptation, but it didn't do so well. It didn't go over very well with some other people. But it's one of those original stories kind of out there. It's kind of an oddball story, and there's a whole series of those that sometimes when you have these original stories, they don't quite make the money that they think it needs to. Mm-hmm. And so they don't follow up. I think that's why the Chronicles of Narnia series kind of fell apart, other than the fact that I think they should have stuck to the source material a little better. But you bring up a story that people maybe are familiar with if they've read the books, but maybe the world at large is like, well, I've heard of that, but they don't know anything about it. They don't always come across. And so it's a real risk to be original these days, to come up with a story that's different.
Yeah.
But Walt would take those chances, and what was great with how Walt would do stuff is not only did he want to tell these stories, and he figures, well, people probably heard the story of Snow White before. He'd try to find a different way to do it and tell it in a way with the technology. He was like, well, we're having a hard time being able to tell this story without doing this. So let's find a way to do that. How can we make that work? So he'd have, he did the multi-plane camera. He developed that way. You know what? We can do something where people are used to seeing a drawing, but now you can see that drawing move across the screen three-dimensionally. And even like the opening of Bambi, it's breathtaking because the way things are moving in a three-dimensional and through a forest, and the opening of Pinocchio as you move into the village. Well, not quite the opening of Pinocchio. I think it's more of the daytime, but you move into the village and then down into the streets. You're moving through pictures, and suddenly it becomes more real because you're seeing it as a real thing instead of just looking at drawings. So Walt would find those ways to step it up to like, let's find ways to tell these stories in ways people don't expect them, and using the technology. And I think, it's one thing that the Disney company is still up on, trying to find the new technology and merging it with Lucasfilm and gaining LucasArts and Skywalker Sound and all of that. Getting that new technology, I mean, that's like a toy chest for Disney. And if Walt was still alive and had that toy chest, I can't imagine what he would come up with to do with it.
Yeah. I mean, it is this sort of like this arms race, this cinematic arms race that we see, and it's like what's going to be the next big thing?
Yes.
Everyone sort of thought Avatar was going to redefine the way movies were made, but but there's still that uncanny valley. So characters like that are just really like sort of 3D printed aren't like, they're not the strongest just yet. Like you still see them, they're more common in Star Wars films, but personally, I still love like practical effects when they're done right. And there's, but like what's going to be, like, are they going to finally figure out that uncanny valley? In which case, like, what are they going to need human beings for anymore?
Yeah, I remember when they made that first Final Fantasy film, they were saying, oh, we can replace actors now. We'll just need their voices, and they can motion capture or something. And it didn't work.
No.
The movie kind of flopped.
Are you talking about Advent Children?
Was that the name? I remember it was the first time they did it, and they did it as very much a sci-fi.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy. Was it Advent?
Yeah, I think that's what it was called. But yeah, no, I agree. It when I saw the previews, I was like, wow, that looks so cool. And then when I was watching it, I was like, I can't relate to these things.
Right. But that technology is getting better when you see how even some games are made to now where actors who like to work on games, they would be in a studio and just recording their voice. When you look at some of the behind the scenes of like the Uncharted games, and they're actually acting out the entire scene with all these little dots and things on them, and they're playing the character, and the character is going to be put over their movement and even the face. So, that technology is developing. And I love when we see that in film, with how realistic characters can look and the expressions on their faces, that we can capture the actors so much better in animation. And I think Pixar is still the front line on that. Because, Pixar, let's face it, Pixar has been above the grade of making movies that were not kids movies in that sense. Yeah. They've always had such depth, and as adults, they get that emotional punch in on us. Who didn't cry at Coco? Show of hands. Oh, I don't see any hands up. I think we all cried at Coco.
Yeah. Oh man, no. And Pixar, talk about story. Like they have really, really shaped the evolution of story in this century so strongly. And it was just crazy that actually were they always Disney, or were they acquired by Disney?
They were acquired by Disney. Pixar actually started from George Lucas. They were some of the original animators that George Lucas had put together, and then eventually they were being run by I forgot the Apple guy's name now.
Steve Jobs?
Steve Jobs ended up being like a head person with Pixar, and so then he upped their technology with Apple a bit.
Sure.
And eventually, though, they wanted to they'd made all these shorts, and they're great shorts. If you see some of their old shorts, if you see Luxo Jr., I still absolutely adore Luxo Jr., but they wanted to make a feature film and had no idea how they would ever get it out. And that's where Toy Story comes from. And that's where the partnership with Disney came in. And then I believe it was Bob Iger who went ahead and made the move and says, you know what? Instead of just having a contract with Pixar, let's go ahead and merge you into the company. And the nice thing is that was a brilliant move because Pixar was telling stories the way Walt used to.
Yeah.
And it really helped revitalize Disney's animation because they started bringing some of the story people in from Pixar to help work on our current Disney animation. And now a lot of people call this a new Disney renaissance of animation because they've suddenly gotten a lot better again.
Right. And I think but the way Walt used to me is like innovating. That's really what that means. It's like because what Walt was doing, nobody else was doing. He was redefining animation, and so too did Pixar. And talking about that whole like bad word of like or phrase of kids movie, and right. And you're right. It is just something that we say. Like it's dismissive. But to say that about some of these Pixar films is really unfair. I mean, yeah, they haven't all been amazing, but what I love most about them is that they will address adult problems. I mean, WALL-E, it's like that the end of the world happened before that. Like yeah. I mean, Up that man, like the first 15 minutes of Up are so moving and tragic, yes. And you can really like he is the villain of the first half of that movie. but you feel for him all the same.
Yes, you completely understand him.
And that, so what you were saying about sort of like, grown-up movies versus kids movies, it's really just a matter of propriety. Like in other movies, they just feel like they can throw propriety out the window, and they don't have to care about what message they're telling. And I think most of Disney properties now are like, you know what? We should always care about the message, and the style in which the content is delivered. Like off-color jokes can be damaging. If you kids still think. I remember granted, I was a nerd in school. I mean, I'm a podcaster, right? Like you probably could have guessed. I just remember like kids just punching me in the you know what, because that was just a thing that always happened, and it was always funny, and TV shows and whatever, and it still like happens to bad guys, and they're like ooh, and everyone laughs, and it's like, you know what? It's actually like not that funny, like if it's happening to you, there's, if it's literally just for a joke, like why?
Yeah.
People like the fact that a woman is heavy, she can't just be heavy. No, she has to like fart or have trouble getting through a door or something, and it's like,
or burp or something.
Yeah. Like I tell stories that are ostensibly for children. I mean, it does say stories for kids on my podcast, but like,
right.
I like to think that I am still including moral messages. The only reason they're stories for kids is because I'm not doing things that I feel are inappropriate, or I'm trying not to. I'm sure they slip in there every once in a while, but I try my hardest to make them good.
Yep. Oh, and jumping back to something that you had said, we're talking about the first 15 minutes of Up. Mm-hmm. There's very little dialogue. There's a little bit when they're kids, but this is, I think, the difference between how Pixar and how Walt could tell stories and tell a moral or a lesson is there's a difference between telling it and showing it.
Yeah. Show
me a lesson. You don't have to come out and just tell me. And so, oh, by the way, this is a movie about da-da-da-da-da, because it sounds, that's like Zootopia. That's my one problem I had. It's like they had to tell me. They weren't, because like you were doing pretty good with kind of showing me that, hey, this could be a problem. But then when I felt like they had to turn around into a tell me. I'm like, oh, come on. But if you can, like in Up, they conveyed so much just by showing it to you. They didn't even have to use dialogue. So that's good storytelling in film. You got to remember you're in a very visual medium, and you can communicate so much with the lighting, the colors, the angle of your shot. I mean, I've been studying cinematography here in the university. Of course, I'm going into audio, but I'm learning film as well, so I'm more versatile, and that's one of the major things: choosing where you place your camera. Mm-hmm. How you want to present it, how you want to light a character. There's so many things when we film with camera, and we're using live people. And for the quote unquote grown up style movie, we think about cameras and stuff. And it's important, I think, in animation, and that's something Walt did, and I think Pixar does too. Think about where you want to put the camera, how you want that character to appear. How we want to view, how the audience is going to be the voyeur into this story. How best can we convey the emotion that we want to get across? Mm-hmm. And that's, I love how Pixar's been doing that. They've done so well with conveying the feel of things through even the background, how everything looks, and even the look of the characters and how they like them and the way we are presented them. They're not just being like Looney Tunes, where Looney Tunes, they could just, hey, we're just being funny. We can just throw them out there. But when they put that thought into where is the camera at and, that kind of thing, that's I think the big difference between making something very much childish because we're having to tell them everything, and then finding just clever ways to show it to them to where they understand it because the expression on the face or how the face is presented and, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And kids are really, really keyed into facial expressions more than we realize, and sound too. I mean, you're studying audio, so like if the music gets scary, even before anything scary happens, a young child is could be terrified just
Right.
by the sound. And even if it's a song they've never heard before, there's this all these things, like all of our senses are very powerful, and you're
Yes.
wielding a lot of responsibility as a movie maker if you want your film to be accessible to all audiences. Which I think those movies are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially with what you're saying with music, that one of the things that breaks my heart is when you hear a lot of the modern, even composers, they keep getting told, well, we want just to kind of put you in the background here. We just kind of want to have you just set a room. And so a lot of times composers are just doing generic emotions underneath, and you don't have these big scores like we had for such a long time. Because yes, music can scare you. Like who could remember what the music does when Darth Vader first enters onto Tantive 4? Dun 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 dun. You know,
Yeah.
The musical hit, and it's not in the background, it's in the forefront. Music is so integral to telling story, and I that's one thing I like about having John Williams back and doing some Star Wars, as he's getting back and doing what he does best, and he's bringing that music back up where we're noticing, and oh wow, and even in Solo, the music stepped up, and I was like, oh, I distinguishedly hear something, and it is conveying and telling me what I'm feeling. And I fear some modern films are, but telling those composers to back away so much. And even sometimes they'll put a temporary track of maybe some other film score that they got some other stuff, and they'll put a temp track down on the film, then give that to the composer and say, here, match this temp track.
Yeah. And there's a lot of styles of cinematic universes where they are making distinct choices, like the Avengers universe. They want all of that to be more scenic, and like everyone has their theme, but they just kind of flow in and out, and sometimes they mesh together, and it just like it just feels surreal in a little way that like it just kind of brings you in. But you're not paying attention to it. And I agree that isn't like, it's not telling the story. They're like, it's a different tactic. And I think it works for the Marvel films. But I think sometimes, when you want to tell a story, like WALL-E, for example, it's silent for the first 20 minutes, but there's scoring. It's all, it's all really well scored. And
yeah, it is. It's got some great scoring in that movie.
Yeah, and that is a voice. That is another way to tell a story. All of it, it's like you said, every little thing is part of it.
Yep, there's so many different ways to tell a story, and music is definitely one of my favorites. Because I used to love to get soundtracks, and I'd sit and I'd listen to the soundtrack, and I would let the soundtrack retell me the story.
Absolutely.
And because you could imagine, and especially because one of the greatest movies is E.T. I love it. I cannot listen to the soundtrack of that, as brilliant as it is, because it's so brilliant. It takes me into that emotional place of the film every time, and it pulls me along, and it can be rough because that movie's got a lot of up and down, and that movie is an emotional ride, and the soundtrack is that same emotional ride. And I really hope film doesn't completely lose that, to like, you know what, these composers were finding ways to tell us the story in their music, so do not limit them.
Yeah,
let them go for it.
I think, I think you raise a really good point in that, like, sort of the 90s, it was kind of a golden age for like big composition. You had your Williams and like Danny Elfman and Klaus Badelt, I guess, or that might have been the 2000s. But anyhow,
Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer, of course. Oh. Yeah, gosh. Just so just all these big names, all these big sounds, and now it's harder, but there's also just so many more things happening. There's so much more media. Yeah. There might not be that many more movies that are getting widely released to American theaters, but there are tons and tons of movies on all of our streaming services and tons of shows with like cinematic scores, and yeah, there is this weird sort of muted feel to some of the scores that we hear now, as if like you could have any of it as background to any moment in your life, and you wouldn't think twice about it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that'll break your heart if you ever go on YouTube. A lot of people have done this. Like, here's, it needs to be sad, so this means piano and strings. And, it needs to sound like this. So that means we use these instruments. It's like it's the same thing. Because here's the generic way to have this emotion somewhere in the background. And it's really sad. It's like, oh, come on, let's break the formula just a little bit. Because you can make sad sounds with a brass instrument. It's possible.
Yeah, yeah. It is. And I think some of it is expedience. Like I have to make a story every week. And and I have to score that story every week. And it is so easy just to be like, all right, piano goes here. Because, but, I do try to find, when I can, I try to find something that fits in a way that's maybe just a little bit different, because I think what you're sort of getting around to saying is, where you might have even said it already, but that we're underestimating the audience sometimes.
Yes.
And there's more and more of that. Like, yes, Zootopia it's this great parable that's playing out in this beautiful, cool world. But sometimes it's a little telly and not quite showy enough.
Right.
I still like the movie. I still love the message of the movie, especially. And I like the Try Everything song. And it's like, but yeah, it's let the movie show and then encourage the the talk afterwards. I mean, that's my thing when it comes to communicating with kids. Like, show them and tell them, but maybe not both at the same time. Let them figure it out. Trust them to kind of feel what's happening and what's right about it and what's wrong about it. And the score does that, and the camera does that, and the facial expressions do that, and the lines do that. But the lines are like just this tiny, tiny, tiny thing in the big wide world of a movie. And then, have a dialogue after the movie, like talk.
Exactly.
And
that's part of the fun of going to the movies is when you get your friends or your family all together in the car, and then you start discussing the movie. Oh, what did you think when this happened? That's part of the fun of going to film. And even that's why movie theaters, I hope we don't lose going to movie theaters, because there's something community about when we all come together and watch that movie on the big screen together. Even when I went to go see Solo, and I've told the story before, the fire alarms go off, and so we're all getting evacuated out of the theater. But the funny thing is, when we all came back into that room, and then they're on a pause screen, we're just looking at Han Solo's face. But we built some community, and we're all discussing how about the movie and about this, and what'd you think? This is really cool. We got to see the Falcon already. What do you think of how the Falcon looks? But suddenly we had this community of strangers in this movie theater getting to talk about the movie, and that's what film is supposed to be able to do. We get together, have this community experience together, watching a movie together, and then we get back in our cars and we talk about it. And especially when you're seeing something with your kids and there's a good lesson for them, that's a great time for the kids to be able to talk to their parents, and the parents can ask questions like, so what did you think when this happened? And then that's why we have parental guidance, because parents can guide their children into some of these important messages and teach them. So yes, you've nailed it.
Well, thank you. And I also, speaking of parental guidance, that's such an important thing. The PG rating is a lot looser than it used to be. So you've noticed, and it's like, so go ahead and take your kids, of course, they're your kids, it's your family, and see the movies you want to see, but take that rating seriously and guide your kids through this, because sometimes there's going to be stuff that they're not going to understand, or that like you said, the movie makers might not be thinking this is just a kid's movie, so they pile in some weird characters, some off-color stuff that I'm just like, ugh, why is this in here? But I would be like, you know what? This is a learning moment. This let me talk about why this character seemed needlessly cruel throughout the whole movie, or to his friend, and why didn't they ever talk about that? Or why these two there's always the dynamic of the nerd and the bully. I mean, that is a big time movie trope, and I feel like in they almost always become friends or work together, but they never address the fact that they were bullied. I mean, that sometimes that doesn't happen. They'll just be like, Are we good? Yeah, we're good. And they're like fist bump. And you're like, no, man, talk about your problems. Apologize,
Yeah.
But if that doesn't happen, then that's why parental guidance is suggested, so that you can take these moments and make them learning moments.
Yeah, and even really great moments going back into Pixar's Monsters Incorporated. When you have that moment where Sully sees what they're doing to kids, and he looks in the monitor and he sees Boo's face. Once again, no dialogue, we just see it. That, to me, is such a great teaching moment. And when you turn it around into, oh, hey, now we've learned we're making kids laugh. So when they have that kid because I actually heard somebody criticize the beginning of that movie because it was scary at the very beginning when we show the monster under the bed. It's like, no, this whole movie is a teaching moment, because if you have maybe a kid's a little afraid of the dark or afraid there's going to be a monster in the closet, you now have an angle. It's like, oh, you know what? He doesn't want to scare you anymore. See, we saw he wants to make you laugh because he knows you don't want to be scared.
Yeah.
You have this whole thing that you could set up with your parents. And suddenly, I don't have to be afraid of the dark.
Yeah.
They just want to come out and make me laugh. And that's why parental guidance.
Yeah, exactly. It's all in how you approach it.
Yes, there's so many things that you can learn stuff from movies, but you have to have the right parents willing to take the time with their kids. Communicate with your kids, parents. Sit around the family dinner table, talk about stuff. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been fun. We could keep talking about this on and on and on, I'm sure. But we gotta let Mr. Eric go back to What If World so he can tell more stories over there.
Yeah, and I gotta let you back to Neverland.
Oh, well, we've been in Neverland the whole time.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Imagination. But so how can people find What If World if they want to come visit and hear some fun stories?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. Yeah, we're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you find your podcast. Just look for What If World, and you can even tell Alexa to play us, play the What If World podcast, and if she'll spit us out.
And of course, your show is fueled by kids having questions.
Yes.
So if they go to the website, do they find a way for the kids can have the what if question and submit it?
Yes, you're doing a much better job of this than me. So yes,
I'm an old pro now.
You can kids can get their parents' permission and their help to call 205-605. Yes, parental guidance. And call 205-605-WHAT? And then they can just leave their what if question, tell me something they like. I collect all these questions. I have a big folder I call my question bag, and I randomly pick at least one a week, and oftentimes 2 or 3, so I can try to answer as many of these awesome questions as possible.
And it's a great fun doing it, so I definitely recommend it. It's good, clean fun, and it's imaginative, which is one of the things we're big of here in Neverland. So everybody, go check it out.
Thank you. Well, I had some good, clean fun today.
We try our best. Thank you for listening to the Neverland Podcast.
We invite you back next week for more fun and adventure.
Until then, remember to keep a pixie in your pocket.
It's that young at heart, positive attitude that you can share with others.
And remember to visit our website at neverlandpodcast.com.
There you can find links to our news page, our shop,
our contact page, where you can easily send an email to podcast@neverlandpodcast.com.
You can also find our Neverlanders page, where you can find out how to become an official Lost Boy or Pixie, because girls are too clever to get lost.
Become a real Neverlander.
Please feel free to leave us a voicemail at 816-226-6492.
And be sure to follow us on Twitter at NeverlandPcast.
And like our Neverland Podcast fan page on Facebook.
We also have a group on Facebook for you to join.
We also appreciate your support to keep the Neverland Podcast up and running.
Visit patreon.com/Neverland Podcast to donate to keeping the pixie dust alive.
Copyright content featured on the Neverland Podcast is copyright of their respective creators and used under fair use license.
All original content is copyright of Blue Band Productions, and a very special thanks to Yeehaw Bob Jackson at yeehawbob.com for our new ending music. God bless!
Hello, everybody. This is Yeehaw Bob Jackson. Neverland Podcast. We love you. Neverland Podcast, we love you. Neverland Podcast, it's true. Neverland Podcast, we love you.